guys, my name is Chantel. Welcome back to my channel and thanks for hanging out with me today. So today we're going to talk about Ace of Diamond Act 2 episode 20. Jesus, that is always a mouthful to say. But anyway, let's go ahead and just talk about this week's episode. So there's a lot I definitely want to discuss regarding this week's episode and a little bit of last week's episode, especially because I didn't have the time to sit down and talk about it. But this week's episode and last week's episode is basically revolving around the inter-squad match, which in last week's episode, if you guys remember, they weren't doing so hot the first years, and then towards the end of it, they were gradually getting momentum when Okumura and Asada were paired up as a battery and they went up, which was really, really cool to see, which is where we pretty much start off with this week's episode. It's with them. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed by these two, especially Asada. Like, I gotta say, he blew me away and just, I don't know what I expected with Asada, but I wasn't expecting this. At first glance, Asada is just a sweet, timid boy. So with this mentality in mind, I really wasn't expecting much from him when he went up on the mound. Like, I really wasn't expecting him to throw like a crazy pitch or anything. I was like, there's no way. He's probably gonna be like kind of basic. Like, I hate saying that. And this week's episode, he made me eat those words because he had a pitch to himself that was unique to him. And I was just like, whoa. Honestly, I just did not expect this type of pitch from Asada, and I was just generally really, really proud of the boy, and I was so happy for him. And even Samura was so excited seeing that pitch, and he was just like, oh my gosh, like he was just a proud senpai overall in this week's episode. Like, it was very, very adorable because in last week's episode he was very worried about him, and just seeing him do his best out there, you're able to realize. And even Kuramochi says this in this week's episode. He was like, you know, he's got that pitcher attitude. And I was like, yeah, I totally agree. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh man, like he has those qualities that make a pitcher. But anywho, besides Asada, let's go ahead and talk about Okumura for a little bit, which I feel like I've been talking about Okumura a lot these past couple of videos that I've been doing, which I really don't mind, because the more I see of Okumura, the more I really start to like him and understand him, which is really, really awesome. And as I said before, it's just really weird because in the manga I really wasn't feeling him, but now seeing all of this animated, I'm like, oh, he's not that bad of a guy. Like, I don't know what I was thinking when I was reading the manga, honestly. I definitely love him even more now, especially after this episode, and seeing his potential and what he can do out on the field was really, really impressive. Like, the boy is constantly thinking, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Miyuki. I definitely feel like with some time and some practice, he will be able to take Miyuki's place when he graduates. I definitely feel that. Like, yeah, he's a little bit rough around the edges and he still can't catch Samura's pitches, but I feel like with work and time he'll be able to get there eventually, because with Miyuki, I feel like those are some big shoes to fill as a catcher, and like the impact that he has on the team as well. But you know, Okumura definitely has potential to be just as good as a catcher as Miyuki, dare I say. Which I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to see like how Okumura is going to develop more in the future. But right now, seeing him play was really, really, really impressive. And he's not the only one that's constantly thinking out in the field. His friend Takuma is also thinking as well, and just pretty much thinking a few steps ahead in order to figure out like what they can do to win the game and stuff like that. And it was pretty interesting to see, just because I feel like a lot of players don't really think so much. Like, yeah, they do think, but the way that Okumura and Takuma are constantly thinking is kind of insane. They don't just go by instincts or whatever. They just kind of are like, okay, we gotta do this, what if I do that, like, well, you know, like their mind is constantly working. And it's because they've been taught this way from their former coach, and even in towards the end of this episode, we hear Okumura saying, he's like, I hate that it's like stitched into me and now it's a part of me. But, you know, hey, it works. So that was overall really, really interesting. Especially, I liked seeing just how much these two trust each other to the point where like their bond is just so great to the point where like they know what they're thinking. They're like, all right, like this is what we gotta do. You're thinking what I'm thinking. Let's go. Like that kind of vibe is what I got from them. Especially seeing them in this episode was pretty cool. I also want to mention that I really enjoyed hearing one of the crowd members being like, hey, didn't one of the previous first years do this last year? And I was like, oh my gosh, like they're right. And I really like seeing that flashback between Samura and Haruchi. That was so freaking adorable. And then seeing how pretty much it's kind of repeating itself with the new first years was kind of awesome to see. But overall, so far with these last 2 episodes, they have been super entertaining and interesting, and I really, really liked seeing how much potential these first years have and what they're all about. Like, it's been really, really cool to see, and I feel like I've gotten a chance to get to know them better. And based on the preview for next week's episode, it looks like Okumura made it into the 2nd string? I don't know, but I guess we'll find out next week and see how our first years feel after their inter-squad match. It's exciting stuff coming along. Like, I'm really excited to see like what's gonna happen next and what we're gonna dive into. So overall, exciting stuff. Ace of Diamond never fails to entertain me. I love it. So yeah, that's all I really have to say for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me ramble on, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!